we decide that if suppose I find out yes, it can be automated using Mulesoft RPA, then we can design the RPA process. Now again, this design phase is where I will get a high level overview about how the RPA processes are and what kind of systems that are involved. I can then design the RPA process. You can design it in a tool called RPA Manager, or you can also use an RPA recorder. Now, I won't be going in depth because each of the topics listed down is a very huge in its own, and it would take an entire like 1 hour or 2 hours and so. Then once we design the RPA process, now this is where we build out the skeleton, right? But the actual implementation is done in the build phase over here, in the build phase. Now, in the build phase, we have some modules already present in the RPA. You don't have to write a single line of code. You can simply configure those modules to do the task as you want. Now, again, I'm repeating, RPA is basically automating a task which a human can do. Now, it is not all tasks, but it is the tedious task or the stabilized task, which is, you want it to get automated. So, once you have built this entire RPA process and tested it locally, now you wanted to test the entire RPA process, right? Now, once you deploy this, not deploy, but when you are trying to test this RPA process, you upload the BPMN module into RPA Manager. RPA Manager is basically a centralized location where you will be actually managing the evaluate, design, test, production, and operate phases for the build. There is a thing called RPA Builder, which is present locally in your Windows machine. Now, another thing, Mulesoft RPA is only supported in your Windows machine and not on a Mac or a Unix operating system. Once you have tested this RPA process, you can now deploy it into production, right? To actually manage all the and automate all the tedious and error prone tasks, right? Because when you automate, the scope of error is very low, and because of which when I deploy it, I want to also monitor it, right? Operate and monitor. I want to know what kind of operations are it is doing, and no kind of functionality which is developed currently wouldn't be having errors. Obviously, there may be certain scenarios which you may have left out, or it is not performing accordingly, right? So this is where I operate. I can monitor and manage the RPA bots that is running. You can make this RPA bots run in a virtual machine in a secure environment where whenever you log in into the system, you won't be able to view the RPA bots execution, but yet they won't be executing in the background, right? And you can also run this RPA bots in your local Windows machine as well. Now, we went through Anypoint platform. Second, we went through MuleSoft RPA, right? Anypoint platform is a API based automation. MuleSoft RPA is a UI based automation. You would only automate the task which cannot be automated using using API based automation, right? Like a legacy systems which don't have APIs exposed, that only those kind of processes can be automated using MuleSoft RPA. Only not only those, you can automate that the processes which have an API as exposed, but as said, API based automation is much faster than the UI based automation, and it is very less error prone as well. Now we went through Anypoint platform, MuleSoft RPA. Now you remember what is the another product of MuleSoft? Uh, let's find it through scenario. A sales team creates and maintains sales data in Salesforce and orders data in NetSuite. Every time an opportunity record is updated to close one in Salesforce, they have to create a sales order for the products from the opportunity in NetSuite. Now, we all know that through Apex or through external services, we can actually have these APIs work in our Salesforce environment as well, right? But over there, if you think this is like a point-to-point connectivity between NetSuite and Salesforce, right? But if suppose there are now multiple systems are coming into the picture, then how it would be very difficult to manage, right? Let first make a call to NetSuite, then make a call to QuickBooks and all and further so the external um, applications. So, as a stakeholder in NTO, I would say to my developers, hey, developers, please automate this process, right? So please work and please work and create another API for, another API to automate all these scenarios. But my developers say they are too busy. And this is where many companies often face challenges. It's about employing the correct resources, having the correct right skills, right? Not all companies would be having their resources which would actually perform more than expectation, right? And those resources, if present, they are too busy and they are currently finding it difficult to work on this another task. So this is where Mulesoft Composer comes into the picture. Now, with Mulesoft Composer, you don't have to write a single line of code. Everything can be automated using point and click. Now, again, AnyPoint platform and Mulesoft Composer is an API based automation, but MuleSoft RPA is a UI based automation, right? And another, again repeating, API based automations are much faster and less error prone when compared to a UI based automation. So this is where the companies are currently facing the challenge, the demand. Now, as we know, we are into the 2023 and currently the technology is booming. There is generative AI, there is like RPA is now also expanding, and but there are so many things, so many technologies in demand, right? The SaaS applications and all. But the companies are facing challenge over here as well, right? The delivery capacity. Now, as I mentioned previously, not many companies are lucky enough to have a resources having the right skills, right, to even right skills and the learning attitude. So if you see, the demand is expanding but they are not able to cope up with the demand. The transformation delivery gap is just expanding, right? So this is where MuleSoft Composer comes into the picture. Now, MuleSoft Composer is a no-code automation product provided by Salesforce. Integrate apps and data instantly using connectors with clicks and not code. You won't be writing a single line of code. No integration experience required, no coding knowledge required, no developer experience is required. Yes, you heard it right. And for integrations, previously people used to get scared because they are like they have to deal with so many things. They have to learn about OAuth, and then they have to learn about how these kind of APIs, how can we use those APIs as well? How can I do it? I need some developer experience, that developer mindset and all, right? But for MuleSoft Composer, you don't require any of it. You just require a proper analytical skill which would help you to actually solve the business process. Now, develop solutions very quickly and efficiently using MuleSoft Composer. So this is the very last challenge. I know we went through so many challenges, right? We went through Anypoint platform. We first understand what is the scenario we want, Anypoint platform could solve. What is the scenario that MuleSoft RPA can solve? What is the scenario that MuleSoft Composer can solve, right? So now here comes the last challenge. Now this is a live implementation of MuleSoft RPA. Not RPA, but Composer. So the current scenario is the sales team creates and maintains lead data in Salesforce. Currently, they are trying to spread awareness about their new product by sending their marketing teams to certain malls in India, such as Phoenix Mall in Mumbai, the Orient Mall in Bengaluru, and so on. While they are finding it difficult to provide Salesforce access to each team member, so they are currently using Google Sheet to note down their lead details. The Salesforce admin is finding it difficult to manage because they are in multiple malls, marketing about the product. So many leads are generating. Writing it in a Google Sheet is not an efficient process, right? And also providing access to those team members is also the organization NTO is finding it difficult. So how can Max the Mule help NTO to automate this business process, right? So we can see in the picture, whenever a lead is in the lead record is inserted into the Google Sheet, I want the lead record to be created in Salesforce, and also there are certain sales team that uses this Slack for communication. So I want to also let those particular team know that yes, a new lead is created. We have found a new lead. Please work upon that lead and please make it to an account in opportunity so that my company could earn something from that marketing as well, right? I wouldn't market it for free. I want some outcome from those marketing as well, right? So for that, I want to automate this kind of business scenario. So before moving on to actually building out this automation, we need to first understand and answer few questions. Do you interface with systems having APIs? Yes. So in the previous diagram, you see I have Google Sheet, I have Salesforce, and I have Slack. Now there are APIs exposed for Google Sheet, for Salesforce, and for Slack as well. So the answer to the first question is yes. Now, do you process documents or images? Currently, I'm not processing any documents or images. Third question, do you interact with websites or legacy? Currently, none of the application like Google Sheet, Salesforce, and Slack, they are not legacy. They have APIs exposed. So the answer to the third question is also no. Then, do you need to perform complex data processing? No, I just want a lead record to be created in Salesforce and just inform my sales team that, see, we have a new lead. We have got a new lead, work upon that lead. Do you need to interact systems not supported by Mule Composer? No, Composer currently has connectors available for Google Sheet, for Slack, and for Salesforce. Now, one other thing, you people must thinking that right now for this from this question that Composer only supports the connectors which are like the systems which have connectors available. The answer to this is no. We have a generic connector called HTTP connector where we can make callouts to the APIs that don't have connectors already are supported by Salesforce. Now, do you need to have extensive development experience? No, because this is very now. If you think about, I am Andrew. I am working as a Salesforce admin. Obviously, Salesforce admins don't have an development experience, right? They don't know how to write code. So, um, we answered to the few questions previously, and now there are another set of questions, right? Now I know what kind of tool I would be using. I would be using a tool, Mulesoft Composer. Now, before using Mulesoft Composer, I need to also answer some of the other questions which would help me design and automate that process, right? So the first question, where does the data come from and where does it go? The data comes from Google Sheet, such that my sales team, my marketing team would enter the data into Google Sheet. Now, the data would then flow to Salesforce, create a lead record. Then the same data would also go to Slack and inform my sales team we have a new lead created. Now, does the data need to be filtered? No. Currently, all the lead data are very important to me, right? Even though those won't be, helping me out to, I can make them an account and opportunity. But certainly, data is very important. I can use the data to market them, right? I can send some promotional emails to them, call them, make some sales regarding calls and all. So I need the data. So for that, does the data needs to be filtered? The answer is no. What transformations must be performed? Currently, I need to transform the data such that the Salesforce can understand the data, read the data, and create a lead record in Salesforce. And the same thing goes for Slack as well. Now, do different circumstances require different actions? Yes, they do require certain, yes, relevant sales team must be informed depending on the customer's interest. And then I want to determine the trigger runtime or schedule. Now, this is where when I want this composer flow to trigger, when it should create the data, right, in my Salesforce and Slack. Now I want whenever I insert a new lead data into my Google Sheet, I want my composer flow to run particularly that period, create the data in Salesforce, and then push a message to my Slack channel informing my sales team. Now, when you're using a Mulesoft Composer, this flowchart would definitely help you to visualize. and build out the solution using Mulesoft Composer, right? Now, if you haven't used Mulesoft RPA, but in Mulesoft RPA, we do design the RPA processes, right? I had, we went through that RPA life cycle. So if you remember, evaluate, design, build, right? So in the design phase, we actually design, we build a skeleton of that RPA process. Over here, we do the same thing. Rather than we, this is a best practice. This is like not enforced one, but this is a best practice. So whenever you are working out, even with the lightning flows as well, many people actually jot down the points. What is the logic when it's my record triggered flow should be triggered, right? After or before save. Then similarly, I do it over here. I first create this design. So in this, if you can see, new lead is added in Google Sheet over here. Then when I would create a lead record in Salesforce, then depending upon my customer's interest, my customer is interested in bike, if my customer is interested in scooter, or he is just a general inquiry. Now, if suppose the customer is interested in bike, I would push a message to the relevant sales team that I found a new lead. Please work upon that lead. Now the same thing goes for scooter as well, and the same thing goes for general. Like there is another separate team to handle general inquiries. So I would push messages to the relevant sales team informing about the new lead. So let me stop scaring and share my composer UI. Is my screen visible right now? Entire screen? Uh, I don't know what happened that instance, but yeah, finally, see, good to see this. So this is the composer. Now I just saw a few questions on the screen. I would answer them once I am done with this entire presentation. Meanwhile, you just keep the questions posted on the chat window. Now this is the composer flow which I had built. These composer flows actually, they as mentioned, there are certain the modules or connectors that are already proposed by Salesforce, right? Like one, we have it Google Sheet connector, we have Salesforce connector, we also have this Slack connector over here. Now, what I have done is how I connected my Google Sheet, that is Google account, with this composer, right? So it's a very simple technique. What I will do, I click on edit. Now, this first element decides when I want to trigger this Mulesoft Composer flow. We can see there is written trigger on new row in Google Sheets. This says that whenever I insert data into the Google Sheet, this particular composer flow would be triggered, and whatever actions are there in this composer flow would be executed. Now you can see in what I'm creating a lead over here, this would be executed. Then I would now push message to the relevant sales team informing that yes, see, we have a new lead created. Please look into this, and then we'll also attach a URL where whenever my sales team or the member of a sales team clicks on that link, it would directly open up the org, Salesforce org, with the required details. And now they can work on that lead and close down the deal as closed one, right? So how did I connect my composer with Salesforce, Slack, and Google Sheet? Simply go click on the plus icon. Over here, I had these kind of different blocks available, right? Action blocks, I would say. I have interaction, and in interaction, I have system action, and then I have logical blocks. Now, if else is basically the very same which you have as if else block in your programming language, such as Apex. If condition is true, execute this set of actions, else the condition is execute the another set of actions. We also have a ladder if, like if, else if, and all. And for each is also the same thing. When we retrieve records from an external system, obviously it would not be a single record, right? It would be chunks of record, or I would say array of records, a list of records. Now I can't just go and access the data. I should loop over that list of records. So for that scenario, I use for each loop. Then error handler is currently in beta phase. It was recently introduced in April, mid-April. And error handling, basically, if suppose whenever I send data to an external system, now I will take an example of Salesforce, right? I want to create a lead record in Salesforce. Now, for that, there are, I mark certain fields as important, right? Or required. I want the data without this new lead record cannot be created. What if I don't send out the required, like in our scenario, I keep this empty, and when I run this composer flow, this would obviously throw an error. Why? Because the system requires the company name. Without it, it won't be relevant, or the information won't make sense, right? So this is where you will use error handler. Now, our error handler, it is basically same as a try catch block. Under try, you would keep the elements which according to you would throw an error. Once it throws an error, under the catch or the error handling, we actually catch that error. Now, once we catch the error, there are also two different behaviors of that. On error, like continue, and then we have on error stop. If I correctly remember the name, yeah, on so we can set the conditions, right? So if you remember in the try catch block, I can simply catch exceptions, or I can throw custom exceptions from the try block and catch it in my catch block, right? So same thing over here. So I have continue and stop. What stop will do? Once it caught the error, it would process the elements that are present inside this error handler on error block, and then it would throw an error, which in turn would stop the execution of this composer flow. But what continue would do? Continue would basically, after catching the error, it would execute the actions or the blocks or whatever I have set up outside of this on error block as well. So stop would execute the set of actions present over here and just finish out the process with the status as failed. And continue would also catch the error, process the data, but also process the connectors that are present under this, right? The what set of actions I want to perform. So this is just a high level walkthrough about the error handler over here. Now, going back. So I want to set up a connection with my Google Sheet. How can I do that? Go to System Action. Under System Action, we can see there are so many connectors available. One for RPA, one for NetSuite, QuickBooks Online, Sage Intacct, ServiceNow, and also we also have Tableau, Snowflake, Slack, and the list goes on. Now, Mulesoft, they just go on adding new connectors every now and then. So if suppose you don't have a connector, you can simply use the HTTP connector and make an request to the endpoint, right, of the application which you want to automate. Now you can see there is also a connector available for Mulesoft RPA. I will show you at the after the end of this demo upon one of the process which I had automated previously. So for Google Sheets, what I will do, I can write on Google Sheet over here, right? Now you can see I have already two connections available. I can simply go click on one more connection over here, right? I will give Okay, and I will simply go and click on connect. Once I click on connect, I need to sign in. Sign in to Google. Then this is my account. Click on continue, and see, within no seconds, we connected our composer with my Google Sheet or my Google account, right? And then I can fetch the data from there. There are certain actions also provided. Not we don't have all the options present, but we have certain options present. So right now for time being, what I will do is I will delete this. So in the similar way, we do it for Salesforce, for Google Sheet I just showed you right now, and also for Slack, right over here. And this is a Slack connector. Now, let's automate this. Let's see this in working. Now, again, there are two phases, test and activate. Test is where once you have built this flow, you would test it, right? We cannot deploy it into production. Now, another thing is this composer are available in two flavors. One is the composer standalone instance, which you see right now, and another thing is where you can install it as a managed package in your Salesforce production org. Now, what I would do is I'll click on test. Once we click on test, 10 minutes of time is allocated for you to test this process, right? To test this automation process. Now, let us wait to start this automation process and what we can do. So, so this is the data, and what I'll do is, yep, I'll copy this over here. Now I'm in Scooter. Let us, yeah. So we can see testing time has started, and right now my composer is actually querying Google Sheet and trying to understand is a new record or new data is inserted into the Google Sheet. So what I'll do, I'll just simply go and paste right now and click on save. Right? So let us wait for very few seconds now. This is not real time, but this is near real time, right? So there would be certain latency because we can't just query Google Sheet again and again. It would query after 10 seconds in the interval of 10 seconds. Now we can see it understood that yes, a new record was actually inserted in my Google Sheet. Once I can see all the information like company name, email, first name, last name, and so on, right? And it now created a lead record in my Salesforce instance over here. In our case, that is Salesforce EMEA instance sandbox. Once it created it, now we'll go to the simple if else condition. Now, as mentioned, I want to inform the relevant sales team that yes, a new, we have a new lead. Please work on it, right? I want to. So there are multiple sales team for bike, for scooter, and for general inquiries as well. Now you can see the blue color outline. It mentions that yes, this action was actually executed. So we can see the rest. You can't see anything over here, right? Outline and that, which means that this was never executed. So even this as well. Now I can see a green color checkbox over here that yes, this action was also executed. Now what we'll do? Now you can see this is. NTO scooter sales team and see 12:01 p.m. Hey sales brother, cheer up and all the details over here. What we can do. So as I am a team member, right? I am a part of a sales team. I can simply go click on this and we can see this new lead record created, right? See Max Automation 3rd June today's date, and we can see this new lead record is actually created. So this is how Mulesoft Composer is actually used for automating using just point and clicks and no code. Now let me go back to the presentation. Okay, yeah. So we went through Composer, we went through RPA, we went through Endpoint Platform. If I would again reiterate that Anypoint Platform is Anypoint Platform and Composer is API based automation and MuleSoft RPA is UI based automation. Now over here you can say like I can integrate legacy systems, I can automate the processes or tasks which we do it on legacy system. We have if we have unstructured data or wherever APIs cannot be used. Anypoint platform and Composer is API based automation. I can easily send data, process data to multiple systems that have APIs exposed. Now, when to use Composer and Anypoint platform? Anypoint platform is meant for complex data processing. When you want to process bulk data, thousands, millions of records of data, right? So this is where we call it transactional data. We process or we operate Anypoint platform on transactional data, whereas Composer is not meant for transactional data, but it is meant to just automate the business automations, right? The simple business automations. Why? Because Composer works synchronously, whereas Anypoint platform can work synchronously as well. And Anypoint platform is very powerful when we compare it to Composer. Now, in Anypoint platform, again, it depends. You can write code. You can it's not it's not required to write down code, but according to business scenarios, you may sometimes need to write the Java code. So if I'm not wrong, any one platform you have to write. It's based upon Java Spring framework. But yes, you have connectors available for certain scenarios. You can directly use those connectors, you know, and give out the endpoint, the credentials, what it requires to access the end system and make and unlock and access the data. So Composer, Anypoint Platform, and RPA. This is all about the MuleSoft automation package. So rightly said, MuleSoft or Salesforce pitches for like automate anything, empower everyone, deliver success now. So we went through these three kind of products. Now, again, some many people would be confused, like which product should I prefer, right? So again, reiterating, Composer is very simple. MuleSoft Anypoint Platform is a complex, and it depends upon what kind of scenario or business use case you want to resolve. And MuleSoft RPA is the most complex. Why RPA is complex? Because whatever processes you are automating is a UI based automation, and the applications don't have an API as exposed, right? So for MuleSoft RPA, if suppose I have automated this scenario and tomorrow the scenario changes, then you have to again go through the phases, make the changes, and it is more tiresome task to make changes in an RPA process, right? You have sometimes you may have to start from beginning, and so RPA, so MuleSoft RPA is only used for the scenarios where there are many there are not many changes in the process which you are automating using RPA. It is a very stable process, and also the process uh, it the employee should not be spending more than certain time. If suppose my employee is currently spending only 2 minutes of time in in actually manually doing the process, and then having MuleSoft RPA to automate that process is not efficient as well. Like only for 2 minutes of process, you are automating the solution using RPA, right? It's not you are just spending money on that, but you are not actually getting some return on that investment. So just you have to automate the processes that you think are more error prone from the user perspective, or more time is spent. But it's a stabilized process, and end of the day, you see you have a high return on investment. And these are the factors which we actually decide in the first phase of a MuleSoft RPA lifecycle, which is the evaluate phase. Now, this again, there are personas involved for each as well. Now, for composer, an admin, or a developer, or a business analyst who does not have a coding experience can actually automate the business processes, right? But for any point platform, you need a developer mindset. There are connectors available, but you need to process the data. You have to write a data wave scripts as well over there. Now, data wave is a data transformation language which we use in MuleSoft Anypoint platform, as well as Composer in certain aspects. And for RPA, you need a developer mindset. Now, as if you remember, I had mentioned that in RPA there are already libraries present, but you can't use those libraries, right? Like you need a developer mindset in order to structureize the entire process one by one. So because of which without a developer, it would be very difficult to actually build out the entire RPA process. So for MuleSoft Composer, there are currently 26 connectors available, and I fear this is a bit old, this image, and there are new connectors that are being added, I think monthly or quarterly. As MuleSoft goes on adding, they just make the information available, so you won't be coming to know about it as well. So there are certain key considerations as well in Composer which you are highlighting, right? So it is not meant for bulk data processing and all. So this is the upcoming live stream, which is on next week, June 6th, and it is at 8 p.m. And over here, I would be talking about MuleSoft Composer and Salesforce flows as well. So I would be joined with another MuleSoft mentor from US. He is Andrew. He works as a Salesforce admin. So in this live stream, we would be talking about how a Salesforce admin can use MuleSoft Composer and Salesforce flows in automating the business processes. And this will be hosted on MuleSoft community channel by MuleSoft developer advocate Alex. So I would request all of you to just join the live stream. You can simply go to LinkedIn. You can watch the live stream on LinkedIn as well. So yes. So Last thing, how to get started with this. Now, for any point platform, you can go to training.mulesoft.com. Over there, we have a big course for any point platform. It's very simple, very easy to understand, and trust me, you will learn this entire like any point platform, not entire like experience for high like as an person, high level experienced person, but you can understand the basics of any point platform, what are the processes, how you can transform the data, and so just go in and you can do the entire course for free. It's very well structured and very well managed course as well. Then we have for RPA. For RPA, you have to just go and refer the trailhead. There are certain trailhead modules available as well for RPA. Under the trailhead modules, we have those videos for like what are the processes which would be doing in the evaluate, design, build, or manage process as well. So that you can refer the trailhead modules on RPA on trailhead.salesforce.com. For Composer, again, there are specific trailhead modules on there is certain trail mix as well for Composer. And if you want a live simulation or you want to experience the Mulesoft Composer, right? There is a trailhead simulator. Now, there may be certain people who have experienced this trailhead simulator if they have gone through the trailhead modules, certain of the trailhead modules. So you can also experience the Mulesoft Composer. Now, it's not a live environment, and I see it's just the images. So you'll be just clicking on what it wants you to click, but you will get a certain like an experience about MuleSoft Composer. Anypoint platform is absolutely free. You can create a 30 days trial account and you can learn Anypoint platform very easily. You can design your APIs, you can build the APIs, you can manage the APIs, you can deploy the APIs onto CloudUp, which is a MuleSoft provided hosted runtime where once you have built the APIs, you can deploy it over there and then anyone can go and access those APIs. But you can also set some security policies around it. Now, for Composer and RPA, you have to contact your Salesforce account executive. It's not freely available. Even my instance, which I have shown you, is not freely available. So you need to get in touch of your Salesforce account executive. Uh, that's all from today's demo perspective on everything. And also, I would request everyone to be part of the community group, right? We have say MuleSoft Composer, MuleSoft RPA, and also MuleSoft Trailhead community groups. Please join in, and you can learn so many things because the community managers over there are very active, and they can certainly help you for some of the scenarios if you want to learn or you want to be guided by someone to learn. You want the resources for how we can get the resources to learn and all. So you can just be part of that Trailblazer community forum as well. Now, I would just give a minute of you if you want to. You can scan this QR code, and this would, you would go to Mulesoft community on LinkedIn. You can just go and follow them. You can also join the Mule there. So, how we have Trailblazer community, right? These events, the Mulesoft also has their own BV platform, which is meetups.mulesoft.com. Go there, join the city you want, or you can also, because most of the meetings happen virtually, you can join in on Saturdays and Sundays, be part of it, and learn more about MuleSoft automations. So I'll just give you a minute of time to scan these QR codes. So again, as mentioned, you can just go to trailhead.salesforce.com and go and search for MuleSoft community over there. You can again scan in over here as well, not an issue. But you can also go there and search, and you can easily search them because there are three Trailblazer community groups available. So, and also the composer trail mix that it is present. So there are certain use cases where they are using NetSuite and Salesforce. So you can also learn it. You can learn MuleSoft, the use cases of MuleSoft Composer as well from Trailhead. Now, Again, I'll give you 10 seconds of time if you want to scan this QR codes. So let's say the same thing goes for Mulesoft RPA as well. As said, for RPA and Composer, you cannot get access to them. It's not a free tool. You have to request access to that, and but you can certainly learn them on or from Trailhead or from training.mulesoft.com as well. Now, be part of the Mulesoft Composer Trailblazer community forum, and that's all from today's meetup and whatever I wanted to present. I hope you are very crystal clear on MuleSoft automation, like what kind of offerings does MuleSoft provide and how you can get started with each one of the products. So let me go back and see what are the questions you have for me, and I would help you to solve them. Thank you, Tarun, for the for the kind messages. Really means a lot. So let us see the questions. Are there any questions? So Sudhir, answering your question, what does the key no point between API based and UI based automation? Now, for API based automation, I would say that go to Postman, make a call out to Salesforce, and you can see within 10 milliseconds, you will get the response right from Salesforce, whether it be anything. If suppose you're using composite Salesforce composite APIs, you would get the responses very early. You can create records like multiple records in a single flow, right? From in a single request you can create multiple lead records or the records that are related to the account record, right? So but in the UI based automation, what you will do, you are basically automating whatever task you are currently doing as a human, right? Now if you are a Salesforce admin, what you will do, you will go create and click on the new button, enter out the details, how much time it takes for you. It takes 2 minutes of your time, right? Now you can see this is the efficiency or the speed between the UI based and the API based automation. One key difference, UI based automation should only be used on legacy systems which don't have APIs exposed, or you want to process the documents inside it, right? Now for example, I would say, now I suppose my sales team sends me attachment, right, on email that has handwritten text, that hand data of customers, right? Now, I need to again process it one by one. Then how MuleSoft RPA can come into picture? Now, if you remember, RPA has a capability called OCR, which stands for Optical Character Recognition. It can understand what kind of data it has been written, right? And then it can send out the data to an external like vendor such as AWS. AWS can then process whatever data you are sending into a machine readable format, right? Into a much readable format, and then I can send the data to my Salesforce saying that, see, I have a new lead. Please create this lead into the system, right? So this is the way where API and UI based automation can come hand in glove, can be used with each other. Now coming to, I hope Sudhir you are clear with this example. So for Mohammed Shoaib, so can you please summarize which scenario with solution to? Can you please pose the scenarios? Can you please explain, Mohammed, what you actually want to understand? Uh, Again. Any specific governor limits on connection establishment with respect to Google Sheets, Slack, and Salesforce? No, Sagar, there is no governor limits. But if you think from a valid perspective as well, how many Google Sheets you would be using, right? You would be using the Composer for like you won't be using multiple Google accounts, right? For your instance, you will be using a single Google account. So we can just automate that, build a connection between the Google account and the Composer. So there is no government limit as well, like how many connections you want, or if there may be, I haven't seen it in the documentation, or I have experimented it as well. So I hope that answers your question, Sagar. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. We can establish multiple collections, right? I'll show you right now as well. So see, uh, and yep, it makes sense. So over here we can see I have selected the Salesforce connector. So I'll again go back and we can see I have skill selected the Salesforce connector. In Salesforce connector, you can see I have created so many connections like for EMEA sandbox, EMEA production, EMEA like Apex sandbox and production, right? So once you have created this connection, you can simply use any one of it. Now, whatever connections you create over here are available globally in your Composer instance as well. So you can see I have created this, a composer and connected with my EMEA instance sandbox. Now, if you want, I can also change the connection over here, or else I can create a new connection. Now, integration user Apex specialist, click on change, confirm. You can see we can create multiple connections for with multiple instances because as you rightly said, we can this is actually deployed on production, or there is a separate flavor which you see right now, which is a standalone instance. And many organizations have multiple sandboxes, right? Not a single sandbox, but there are multiple sandboxes. So you can easily you can easily create the connection between your composer and that external systems. I hope that answers. Thank you, Pushkar, for that uh, kind words. Thank you, John. Thank you, Shovan. Thank you, Tarun, again for your kind words. I hope you all have filled out the Google form. It would be very much helpful for me to improvise my content in more friendly way to you and help more people to understand about MuleSoft and its offering, and also the broader picture, which is MuleSoft 360, not MuleSoft but Salesforce 360, customer 360, right? So that's all from today's demo. Thank you, Sagar. I think you can take the lead now. Yep, I would be okay.